Hello, everyone. It is Monday, July 8th. I'm Jeremy Lambert, and it's time to get in the weeds. And I'm solo today. Solo, Jeremy, for at least the first half hour of this show. Joel Pearl is deciding that he's not showing up, and my co host is not showing up for a half hour. So I'm by myself for the first half an hour. And there's a lot to talk about in wrestling too. It isn't like so what are we going to talk about? And then we're going to talk about wrestling, or we're going to talk about basketball for the first half hour, or life and things like that for the first half hour. Nope. Lot to talk about in the first half hour. The whole 2 hours. Lots to talk about in the world of wrestling. We had WWE Money in the Bank on Saturday. We had NXT Heatwave on Sunday. There was a Collision episode allegedly on Saturday as well. That's it. It's possible Joel's dead. Possibly. I said that in like the first 5 minutes, so it might get us canceled immediately. Joel, I think he put out a message on social media. I didn't read it. I don't really care what Joel has to say. Just know he didn't show up to work today. That's all that matters. Appreciate you, Ryan. Throw the ones up. It was a busy weekend, everyone. Joel had a busy weekend. Joel did a lot of great work for the site. He had media day on Friday. We went to Sami Zayn on Thursday. Saturday, we tried to do a in-studio live episode, which was had some hiccups, to say the least, had some speed bumps out there. Saturday was Money in the Bank. Sunday was Heat Wave. This was a lot to do with Joel. Joel had a lot to do. He was very, very busy. Trip to Canada was fun. It was, in some aspects, a little disappointing. Yeah, we did get kicked out of the Canadian Library. Very true. Being too loud. In some aspects, a little disappointing. Not through anybody's fault, but there was a lot of stuff that didn't go quite as planned. That was unfortunate. And, what can you do for that kind of stuff? We kind of told the GCW story on Saturday, how we were just kind of waiting to get in for a while on that. A lot of miscommunication that didn't need to happen for that, which was unfortunate. Saturday was just kind of a long day, and we thought we had 2 hours at the library, or we thought we had 3 hours at the library. Apparently we had 2 hours at the library, so we got kicked out of the library in the middle of our show. So that was unfortunate. Getting the interviews uploaded was a process, and then that was kind of it. So it was just a busy and a long weekend, but I'm here. You don't see me taking shows off just because it was a busy and a long weekend. I'm still showing up for you guys. Joel, on the other hand, no. He does like 2 things on the website. This is one of them. And he can't show up for the show. What are we doing? What are we doing, folks? John Cena announced his retirement. I see a lot of people. I was wondering, it's like, why are so many people commenting like Randy Orton and The Miz? Then I realized what I headlined this show with, and it's on Twitter. Who should be John Cena's last opponent? He announced his retirement. It's more than a couple of dates in 2025. He's going to do the Rumble. He's going to be on Raw on Netflix, probably the premiere show, I'd imagine. He's going to do WrestleMania, and he's going to do throughout the year shows, and eventually culminating in December, where he has his last match. I would imagine they haven't been doing December pay-per-views. I think you got to build a whole pay-per-view around John Cena's last match. You can call it you can call it John Cena's last match if you want to. You can call it WWE You Can't See Me if you want. Feels like a missed opportunity if you just kind of do the match on Raw. It's like, oh, this is Cena's last match. Like, we know he's going to have a last match. You should probably build an entire show around that. They love money. They love breaking gate records. They love breaking viewership records. you might be able to get away with a stadium show for John Cena's last match. You could legitimately get away with running whatever the show might be called. I like You Can't See Me Anymore. It's good. You can probably put that match and that show in a stadium. And you could probably sell it out for his last match, his actual final last match. You're going to get people coming to all over the events. You're going to get people coming to Rumble because it might be the last time they see Cena, WrestleMania because it might be the last time they see Cena, events like house show. I don't know if he's working house shows, but Raws and stuff throughout the year. I assume he'll be on some SmackDowns. He'll come on some shows throughout the year, and it might be the last time they get to see John Cena. I would venture a guess to say he'll wrestle a match on NXT as well, because I think he wants to give to that crowd, show up to NXT, wrestle performance center match, and then that crowd potentially the last time they see him. Wes Obel asking, biggest stadium in Boston. You could either do Fenway or Gillette. Gillette's where the Patriots play. Fenway's where the Celtics play. Yeah, or Celtics, sorry. Red Sox. Can they do a show at Fenway? I think they can. It would be in December. It wouldn't be baseball season. You wouldn't have to worry about doing a show. I don't know if you want to do, that's the only issue. You want to do a stadium show outside in December in Boston? That could not go well. It'd be fantastic. Wrestle John Cena's last match wrestling in the snow. That'd be great. You imagine that? The show in the snow. Yeah. That would be awesome if they did this show in December outside in Boston. So I think that's probably the hold up there. That's probably the hold up there, is doing it in December in Boston in a stadium. Is the weather ain't going to be great for that one. That's why you might have to push that way further west to ensure you get it. But maybe they don't do a stadium. I think you can, just because I think you can sell it out. But maybe they don't. Maybe they just decide, let's do Boston, let's run TD Garden, let's break the record, however they're going to break the record there. Because you're going to move the tickets. You're going to move the tickets regardless. Yeah, somehow it ends up back in Vegas. Just going to run Vegas year round. They're going to have a residency there. But I think you could easily sell out a stadium. And do they have any big venues already booked for December? They don't have anything announced for really next year. And they've got Rumble and they've got Mania. I don't think anything, because SummerSlam's Minnesota, that's 2026. They don't even have SummerSlam announced for 2025. So they don't have much announced for 2025 because, it's only July. So you don't need to do too many announcements. I assume he's going to do some international dates. He kind of tweeted that he wanted to do Australia. He was hoping Australia was on the stop. They'll announce some international tours. They're going to do international PLEs again. They've been a big hit this year. You're probably going to see Cena on a fair number of those. I think he wants to, if it works for his schedule. He said there was going to do 30 to 40 dates. It's a fair amount. I think he wants to go just about everywhere he can, knowing that it's going to be the last time fans potentially see him. Yeah, Japan. I think he's going to try to work all of these tours. And certainly he's going to try to work all of the PLE events. I don't know if he's going to be a weekly television character, but they're going to build storylines around this entire tour. He's going to be part of the television enough to where you're going to have to do an actual storyline. He's already kind of talked about winning championship number 17. He's going to enter the Rumble, it sounds like. I think you give it to him. I would give it to him. I would give him number 17. There's a story there that can be told with number 17 as well. You have to do it at Mania, although you got 2 world titles now. Doubtful he wins like the Rumble. Rock and Cody is kind of where you're most likely going for WrestleMania. Where does that leave Roman? What does he end up doing at Mania? Punk and Seth is a match that was penciled in this year that they could easily do next year, assuming health with everybody. McIntyre is still going to be in the picture. So where does Cena fit in kind of the world title picture? And you can have plans for this. You can certainly have plans for what you might want to do. And then people get injured, people get over. And you got to change things up a little bit. Cena and Gunther, world heavyweight title. I'd be for that. It'd be a great match. I think we're going to get a Cena and Cody match. I do. I think we're going to get Cena and Cody. I would imagine literally everyone is going to Triple H and saying, hey, can I get a match with Cena? I think everybody wants to be in the ring at least one time with Cena, even if it's like a tag team match. And they might do some like multi-man matches so like everyone kind of gets out there and gets to work with him at least once. I would not be surprised at that. If they do tag team matches, 6-man tags, 8-man tags, so that way we get so everyone gets a chance to be in the ring with Cena. Yeah, greatest Royal Rumble. John Cena enters number 1 and just lasts the entire time. Well, Brian's got the record, right? Because he had greatest Royal Rumble. He was in that for like 70 minutes. John Cena's going to beat that. He's 100% going to beat it. A lot of people throwing out Kurt Angle as his last match. I don't think Angle is going to wrestle again. I think that's actually a cool idea because we know Angle wanted Cena and then he got Baron Corbin. I don't know who Cena wants. Cena at the press conference was like, I'm in no position to pick who I face. Like, okay, buddy. You're John Cena. You can literally call your shot. You can say that doesn't work for me, brother. It's whoever Cena wants to face. If he says Kurt, he'll probably end up getting Kurt. I don't think that's the match anybody really wants. I think it's a cool moment of, oh, they're ending their careers. Like Kurt's never going to wrestle again. Cena's never going to wrestle again. You ended how you started. I think it's a cool moment. That's not a good match. I think Cena wants to have a passable, at least a passable last match. I said Randy. I said it partially joking because John Cena and Randy Orton have faced each other roughly 3 million times. And their feud really defined an era of WWE. Randy can still go at a high level. You know, it's going to be a year and a half by the time he's back, or by the time Cena's ending. So I don't know what Randy looks like then, but Randy works a style that it's going to hold up longevity-wise. He didn't take too many, insane bumps or anything like that. That's why he's been around as long as he's been around. I think it possibly could be Randy. I think Cody is a real possibility of the actual last match, of the passing of the torch. Kind of already did it with let me raise your hand type of thing. But now you can really do it by putting Cody over. Cena should win his last match, by the way. I'm fully on board with Cena winning his last match. One last time. Why does he need to lose? Spent his whole career winning. They don't understand. They don't understand how to build somebody after a Cena loss. Look at Austin Theory. Look at Solo. Just have Cena beat him. People get over more when you lose to John Cena than you beat John Cena. We got some new people hanging out here. By the way, guys, we're like 19 minutes in the show. I'm not used to doing the hosting portion of this. This is Joel's job. What happens when you show up to work? Leave a thumbs up on the video. See if we get the full screen fireworks going on here. We're gonna try. I don't know if we're gonna get it. There we go. Full screen fireworks. Leave a thumbs up on the video. Leave a super chat. Get your question, comment, statement read on the air. Well, that's no good fallen footwear. I hope your neighbors are okay. Sounds like their fence is not. Leave a super chat. Get your question, comment, statement read on the air. That helps this channel out. That helps out the other people on this channel. Subscribe to the channel. That helps everybody. Head over to Fightful.com. Head over to FightfulSelect.com. Subscribe. Best $5 in the business. Best 2 plus 2 plus 1. $5. Best $5 in the business. Joel did run from the grind. Factual. Cyclops is better than Wolverine. He did run from the grind. So a couple things here. Let's see. I appreciate you. You are new to the channel. Thank you. I cannot read Chinese, so I do not know what your name is. Do you think it would hurt the championship if Cena wins the 17th in December to retire and vacate the title right after, like the WWE video game Triple H story mode ending? I don't think that's the right call. I don't think winning it and then retiring with it to vacate it is the right call. I do think he can win it. I think that's fine, but I think he has to lose it to somebody. I don't like the idea of him winning and then vacating. I know AEW did that with Sting. It was the tag team titles. Sting was undefeated his entire AEW run. I was okay with that. I'm a big Cena fan, so I wouldn't have an issue with it. I just don't think it's the move to actually make here. But I do think he should win the title at some point in the last year, and then he would obviously lose it at some point. I don't fully love retiring and vacating the title in this instance with Cena. Will, we kind of talked about this. Where do you think Cena's last match is? We talked about a stadium show in Boston and then realized December stadium show in Boston probably isn't the best idea in the world. But we did think Boston do a whole PLE around it. If they want to do stadium, they'd have to go West Coast. I don't think they're going to try anything with the weather out there. Ryan says he's last eliminated in the Rumble, then wins the Chamber to face the other world champion at Mania. Very possible. Very, very possible. I think that he could challenge for a title at WrestleMania. A lot's up in the air with that just because we don't know kind of injury situations and a lot can change between now and WrestleMania. I'm sure you guys potentially watched the documentary last Wednesday. Plans were penciled in October, and then everything changed because The Rock had a bunch of brilliant ideas. Rock's a genius. It's exactly how he got to the level he's at. Smartest man in the world. I would kill for John Cena against Bad Bunny. That might be one of the greatest matches ever. I don't know if it would beat Sami Zayn against Johnny Knoxville. It'd be very close, though. It'd be very close, John Cena against Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny's undefeated, too. He's got claim to any title shot that he wants. There's full claim on that. Would love John Cena against Bad Bunny. I think Bad Bunny would be back if he ever wants to come back. I think it's always going to be open for him. John Cena to host MILF Manor. He's hosting Shark Week. He says, just for fun, what's the most random person he could face in his final match? Like in the company or outside the company? Because you can come up with a bunch of random names outside of the company. Should face somebody from House of Torture. Face Yujiro. That'd be great. Yujiro against John Cena. I don't know if Yujiro is just a random name. Like he's popular in New Japan. I don't know popular, but he's there in New Japan. In the company, looking right now, John Cena and Evil would, as the kids like to say, feed families. That match would hit like crack for me. Probably nobody else, but it would for me. Would love that. Absolutely love John Cena against Evil. It's the final task for him, right? John Cena made his whole career fighting Evil. Hustle, loyalty, respect. Standing up to the authority, standing up to Evil. Whole career was that. Him defeating Evil in his final match. It doesn't get any better than that. It really doesn't get any better than that. You know what John Cena's actual last match should be? It shouldn't be a wrestling match. Rap battle. Where's Jay-Z at? Where's Fabulous? Those cowards. They wouldn't battle him at WrestleMania. He had to battle cardboard cutouts. Rap battle. John Cena against Kendrick. That should be his last match. That's what we need. I don't want to see Top Dollar. I don't want to see Max Caster. No. I'd wash John Cena. John Cena wouldn't be afraid of me like Top Dollar is, though. John Cena against Drake would be hilarious rap battle. I don't think Drake has battle rap bars like that. I mean, we kind of saw it here against Kendrick. Drake's like a battle rap fan. I think he would suck in that type of setting. Like acapella Drake, don't feel that would be any good. He'd be singing too much for that. He'd really be singing too much. Put it on NXT, Drake will show up. Yeah. I think his last match should be a rap battle. Who cares about the battle against Kurt Angle, legitimately one of my favorite segments of all time. You're not better than me, Kurt. You're not even my equal. I'm like Terminator 3. You're like Legally Blonde sequel. I used to be able to quote that whole thing. My brain is dead rot from having 12 kids, but used to be able to quote that whole battle against Kurt Angle. Final match, a 1 hour Iron Man battle rap. Oof. There are like battle rap nowadays. It's one of the reasons why I stopped watching so much. The battles got way too long. We still have the grind time battles. They're like 20-minute videos. You get like 3 minutes. It's like a 3-minute round. Everyone gets their stuff in, and that's it. Okay, we'll be back. We'll see. Anyway, grind time battles would be like 20 minutes. It'd be good. You can watch those all day. Then they started like unlimited rounds, and like the videos became like an hour and a half long. I'm just like, oh, I can't watch these unlimited rounds. Just not doing it. Like some of the battles are good if they're unlimited rounds. There's so much filler material and that stuff. Like, give me your best Give me your best, like 26 bars. That's it. 3-minute round. That's all I want. I don't need all of your trash, filler gun bars. Don't want any of that. People saying, I wouldn't mind if John Cena faced somebody who is currently on defeat at WrestleMania. That person is Michael Cole. Oh, that would rule. Would love Michael Cole against John Cena. Pat McAfee doing one last match. I don't know about one last, but doing a match, that'd be good. Cena can become a comedy wrestler that just says bitch on Netflix. He could. We need John Cena against Jeff Jarrett. I don't know what Jeff's status is by the end of next year with AEW. We need John Cena against Jeff Jarrett. Arsenal needs 26 bars about doing something to someone's mom. I fuck with Arsenal. I like him. It's been way too long since I've watched Battle Rap, though. But I like Arsenal against Shadi Hora is a great battle. Everyone go watch that if you would like to. After this show's over. Jarrett keeps him from getting the 17. That's the feud we need. That is the feud we need. John Cena against Jeff Jarrett. Cena against the announced team gauntlet. Wade Barrett, Corey, Michael Cole, Pat McAfee, Booker T, Vic Joseph. Face them all. Great. That would be fantastic. Cena versus Huskus in a pizza eating contest. I would like to see Cena do something with the Wyatt Six. I don't know where they're going to be 6-7 months from now. Cena and Bray was a pretty big time feud. I mean, if you're looking at Cena's final feuds, Bray's the best one. When I say final feuds, I mean within like the last 5 years. Roman was rather short-lived. I'm trying to think who else he really feuded with in his kind of in the last 5 years. Everything else was just kind of in and out matches. Bray was an actual feud. He should do something with the Wyatt Six. My co-host has arrived, and he's brought a co-host with him. SP3 is here.
Let's get bubbles.
Say hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hi.
I got some bubbles.
You got bubbles?
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's blow it.
Who's your favorite wrestler? John.
Spear.
She doesn't know how to say John Cena, so she says John Spear.
Fair.
Let's go to bubbles. Ready?
Enjoy your bubbles.
All right, give me a kiss, and then you can go to mommy. Give me a kissy. All right. I love you.
Aww.
Okay. Go to mommy. Mommy calling you. Go to mommy. All right. Hey, guys.
How you doing, buddy?
I am doing well. I'm happy to join you today, fill in for my good Jewish Canadian brother, Joel Pearl here.
He's a coward.
This man over here didn't let me know I needed to be the sixth man until like 3 a.m. my time.
Let me tell you something, SP3. Do not put that on me. I literally messaged you 2 minutes after I learned. Okay? So this is not my fault. This is Joel's fault, who messages me at 10:30 last night saying, hey, can't do the show. Or, I shouldn't even say can't, because he can. Hey, not doing the show.
Oh,
'Cause
he
it's not
wrote
a
that?
can't.
He wrote that? He said not doing the show? That's how he hit you with it?
It's not like he couldn't do the show. He could. He could do the show. But it's I just need to take tomorrow off. That's what he said.
That's fair.
Needs a day
That's
off.
fair.
What's
I
that
mean,
like?
he did a lot of work. He did a lot of work. The man's been working hard out here in these streets, in the Toronto
Mm,
streets.
mm.
Did all these interviews for you for the Playful gang. Like, come
SP3,
on.
SP3. He does like one job on this website. It's to do this show. Now all of a sudden he's got, oh, you got a busy weekend. And he's like, oh, now I'm not going to show up for the one job that I have to do because I took on a little bit of extra work this weekend. So now I can't show up for the one job. He's got tomorrow off. He didn't do anything tomorrow. He didn't do anything on Thursday. Impact post show. Who cares?
Hey. I start off the show with the ROH post show, so I will not take any disrespect to our hard work that we do for the ROH and TNA faithful. But I'm glad to be here as always with Jeremy, one of my favorite people in the whole entire world, not named Harlem or Tia or SP4. You know, like you're one of those, you're one of the rare few that I love to talk about some wrestling, because we never talk about wrestling together when we're on screen. We usually talk about basketball, where you have a lot more knowledge than I do. I just complain and and brag about the Lakers and our 17 championships, because I don't know if we're getting 18 anytime soon. But yeah, so
We've been talking about John Cena's retirement. We've thrown out a lot of ideas. I think that they can do an entire PLE in December. You call it You Can't See Me Anymore, call it just Hustle, Loyalty, Respect, call it whatever the hell you want.
no, he
But
gave you the title. The last time is now.
yeah, there you go. You can do a whole PLE though. I think you can do a stadium and sell out a stadium for this as well. But then we talked about Boston Stadium, December, probably not happening. So if you're going to do a stadium, you might have to do West Coast there. But I definitely think you can do a whole PLE. And then we've been throwing out potential ideas for a last opponent. What are your thoughts on sort of just the entire John Cena announcement and then potential stories for next year, and then a last opponent and where the event might take place?
So I don't know if we can do freaking I've been seeing more people like pay attention to Cena's last WrestleMania opponent than his actual last match. Because I've been seeing, people talk about that more than, December he's going to. So that's going to be his real last match. I mean, my response was, I felt like, it was inevitable. He's been talking about it a lot in interviews that he really wanted this last run. And, WWE is always ready to jump on that. And, we kind of saw a prototype for a retirement tour, if you will, with Sting at the end of 2023, start of 2024. And that was a great thing, how they built up to it for Revolution. And I think that if I was Cena, I think the best place to end the run would be at WrestleMania. But the fact that he's guaranteed that he's doing like 30 to 40 shows is very interesting. You get a full last year. It feels like the This Is It tour, basically, for WWE and professional wrestling with John Cena. And John Cena is someone that I've been a fan of since like day one. I even, you can go back and you can ask some of my friends from like high school. My AIM username, Jeremy, was J Cena KB8. My two favorite people at the time when I made an AIM
How would you
screen. Hey, I'm here to admit it. I have admitted it before when we taught Jared Bailey about
Yes.
AIM. But my AIM screen name was J Cena KB8 because I was a huge John Cena fan, a huge Kobe Bryant fan. So that was my screen name. I had the old Word Life DVD, the orange cover one that kind of documented his run as the rapper John Cena, and that's where he kind of got into prominence, where he was kind of the anti-hero that became the hero before our eyes. If you were watching in 2003, I remember before Survivor Series 2003, his official babyface turn when he chose to team up with Team Angle over Team Lesnar. And I've been on the road of also, it's kind of been a tumultuous relationship with me and John Cena as a fan, because, towards like 2008, 2009, I grew out of my love for Cena when he got pushed too much. And then the Nexus angle really upset me with how that was handled and everything. And then learning the backstory a couple of years later, it confirmed why I was so upset with that. But then I fell back in love with him when, during the Punk feud, during the United States Championship Open Challenge. So it's been a great ride with John Cena, and he kind of is a lot of people's childhoods. A lot of people came into wrestling, and John Cena was to them what Hulk Hogan was to me when I was first growing up and got into professional wrestling. He was the face of professional wrestling. So it is a end of an era with John Cena calling it quits. So that was like my reaction of, yeah, I expected this, but wow, it's actually happening. And as far as his final opponent, at first WrestleMania, I think they had 3 big choices for WrestleMania. If you want to go for nostalgia, and I was listening to you on your own, you did a great job, by the way. Not a lot of people, I want to tell you folks, not a lot of people can do solo shows on their own. Me, I prefer not to do it. But I respect Jeremy for doing it for the first half hour here. If you're going for nostalgia, of course, there's Randy Orton. Randy Orton, because he doesn't have like a foregone conclusion type of WrestleMania opponent right now as we stand like 8 months before the event, or not 10 months before the event. He doesn't have that WrestleMania opponent that just jumps out at you. So if you want to go for nostalgia, Randy Orton and John Cena, despite the fact that I am one of the people that have gone on record and said, I wouldn't put any of the John Cena Randy Orton matches in either guy's top 10 matches of their career. But as far as the rivalry and the amount of times that they face, they are definitely in each other's top 5 greatest rivals for sure. But if you're going to go for nostalgia, Randy Orton, who may be healed by WrestleMania, that makes a lot of sense. If you're going to go with the John Cena route of what we've seen over the last couple of years with him, putting over Austin Theory at WrestleMania 39, not very successful, and then putting over Solo Sikoa at Crown Jewel last year, somewhat successful. Now, but now, but if you're going to go that route, I think that the foregone conclusion for me would be Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is the type of guy that Cena can put over and say, you're going to be the next guy. You're going to be the prototype for the next generation of WWE, because Braun Breaker is a beast. And I don't care how much Jeremy shakes his head.
But I'm shaking my head. Because John Cena ain't fucking taking none of that stuff. See, Austin Theory, like, yeah, okay, do your little light strikes and work your holds and everything. Solo, he's working half speed. John Cena ain't getting trucked by Braun Breaker. Cena's gonna see how he will. That's why I'm saying no to that. Cena's like, look, buddy, I gotta make a bunch of movies after all this. You better slow the fuck down. Remember when Michaels at WrestleMania backed Cena into the corner and was like just chopping him and punching him? Was like, slow the fuck down, just yelling out. That's gonna be Cena with Braun Breaker out there.
Reversing of roles. He's gonna be Michaels, and then he's gonna leave the ring after Braun wins, and Braun's gonna have to come up to him in the entranceway like, I'm sorry.
Cena ain't taking none of that shit.
I think Braun Breaker is the guy, though. If for the WrestleMania stage, if you want to put over a new star, he would be it. But I think the most interesting kind of scenario, I think that if you're going to do the storyline of Cena going for number 17, it has to be at WrestleMania, because they missed out on the opportunity with 16 and tying it for him to do it at WrestleMania. They did it at the Royal Rumble. If you're going to do the 17 storyline, you can't do it later in the year, in my opinion. That's a big enough story for John Cena in his final year, his retirement in December, where you could realistically see him winning the World Heavyweight Championship and holding it for a couple of months before he retires. You got to do it at WrestleMania. And I think that the best option is Gunther. I give it up to my boy Jimmy Macaram, because we were talking about it after the Cena retirement, and he said the same thing as me. He said Braun or Gunther. If you're going to go for 17, Gunther as the World Heavyweight Champion against John Cena. That's like That's like an homage and a celebration of like 50% of John Cena's feuds has been him versus foreign heel. He went the Hulk Hogan route of him versus foreign heel, him versus the Samoan Bulldozer, him versus Great Khali, him versus Rusev. Like that would be a celebration of John Cena, the all-American babyface facing Gunther. We can't play the music here. I know. You want to show him. You want to show him the wrestling. I know.
Wrestling.
Tell him your other favorite wrestler. Who's your?
What do we have here?
Here we go.
Okay. Oh, Randy Orton. Okay.
Ah,
Okay, go to mommy. Yeah, it's okay. But you can't play it in here because we're on YouTube. You can't play YouTube on YouTube. That's copyright strikes. All right.
I think
She's
Cena
also
and
a Randy Orton. She's going with Randy Orton, apparently. My daughter.
I think Cena and Gunther makes sense as a WrestleMania match, and Cena going for the title, because I did say that if you're going to do the title change and do 17 for Cena, Mania makes the most sense. I just don't know where the title picture is going to be by the time we roll into Mania. Rock and Cody, it seems penciled for one of the title matches. Where does that leave Roman, though? It feels very weird of Roman not being in a title picture.
I think they're doing Roman and Solo at Mania.
Potentially. You know who also, like, I wouldn't rule this out for Mania, and it's kind of an underrated rivalry for Cena for his history, is Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins and John Cena for the title is a potential out there. CM Punk and John Cena for the title.
I think they're gonna save Punk for I think they should do Money in the Bank in Chicago next year and do Punk and Cena there. Either Punk and Cena one-on-one or Punk and Cena teaming up in Chicago at Money in the Bank. I think that would be appropriate. And I think that really Money in the Bank, I know you haven't talked about, anything else from the show, but I think Money in the Bank and the result of the World Heavyweight Championship matchup pretty much confirmed that Punk is facing Seth at WrestleMania next year. They reignited the light of that rivalry because they're gonna make it burn brighter towards the end of the year when Punk is done with Drew. Drew McIntyre is a good option that I haven't heard a lot of people saying, because he has this kind of like heel persona that would work well with John Cena, and he could say that I was the reason why Kurt Angle retired in the first place, the guy that you stepped up to face. I was the one who really showed him ruthless aggression, and he could say stuff like that. Drew is great at that type of stuff. But I think that those three options that I named before are the best options, because I feel like everybody else kind of has something already that I can see for WrestleMania. Like Roman, it would be Solo. The Rock, it would be Cody. Cody, it would be The Rock. Seth, it would be Punk. Punk, it would be Seth. So I feel like everybody else is penciled in, whereas Gunther, if he wins the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam.
So Seth and Punk non-title though? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Like you can do it, obviously. Like the feud is there, the story is there that you don't need the title. Also just feels like that's a title match.
I mean, definitely. I mean, Punk and Drew at this point, I felt like 2 months ago before Clash at the Castle that they were going to put the World Heavyweight Championship in that rivalry. But that rivalry has been one of the best since WrestleMania has been the best WWE rivalry, but it's been one of the best rivalries this year, despite Punk only working one matchup. And they've made it so personal that it doesn't need the belt. And I feel like they're going to do the same thing with Punk and Seth. I also think that WWE doesn't trust Punk to be in a World Heavyweight Championship matchup at this point when he just came back and gets injured. You want to have these heated rivalries. And I think for Punk, he wants to prove that he doesn't need to be involved in the title picture and that he can be in the title picture maybe after WrestleMania. But he's got this very heated personal rivalry with Drew that I think is going to go at least into the fall. And I think after the fall, they're going to be setting the stage for Punk and Seth, where it's another personal rivalry for Punk.
I'm going to throw a couple of names at you that I think make a lot of sense for WrestleMania and Cena's last WrestleMania match. We're going to take the title out of the picture here, because you can do the title storyline at any point during the year. Obviously, WrestleMania.
I think that WrestleMania is the biggest show, and that would be the one show where I would think, yeah, maybe they will do it. If they do it later in the year, I'm not going to believe it, because I'm like, Cena's leaving in a couple of months.
Yeah, but you can do it at SummerSlam and he can hold it to Survivor Series. It's not a couple months. Like he's wrestling all the way to December. They got the whole year to do that. Like you can do the title thing, I think, at any point. So here's a couple of, I don't know if they're dark horse names, but they're just names that I think make a lot of sense. AJ Styles, Kevin Owens. I think both of those names make a lot of sense for Cena as a last WrestleMania match because he's got history with both of those guys. I would say the AJ matches are arguably the best matches of Cena's career. And they're definitely in the top there. And then the Kevin Owens story, when Kevin first came up as NXT champion, beating John Cena, that was a big thing for them. So I think both of those guys make some sense as Cena's last WrestleMania opponent.
I like the AJ Styles one because it would fit in with kind of his current character that they've been doing, that he did with the Punk, with the with the Cody storyline. I think that one would be really good. And they were two guys that had one of Cena's greatest rivalries, but never got their WrestleMania matchup. Kevin Owens is an interesting one. I love their rivalry from 2015, and I think that's the one rivalry within the United States Open Challenge storyline that everyone remembers. That was kind of like the anchor of it all that really brought it all together, where people, remember it so fondly, and it put over Kevin Owens, despite him losing the series, it put him over and established him as a main roster character with that rivalry. So I would love to see them run it back. I feel like if you're out of those two options, I think that the AJ feud is the one that I would want to see more at WrestleMania. So they could check that off the bucket list, that they got to do a WrestleMania match one-on-one. If you're going to do, I actually would prefer AJ Styles over Randy Orton, because like I said, I don't like any of those Orton and Cena matches. Their best one was their first one, and they still have not been able to touch that one. The only one that came close was the Iron Man matchup, but everybody remembers that for Orton trying to blow up Cena. So like that's the only one that came close. Whereas AJ and Cena, they left off with their best matchup. Like the SummerSlam matchup might be remembered more because I feel like that matchup kind of like defined that AJ Styles was ready for the WWE Championship, ready for the WWE main event. But the Royal Rumble matchup is one of the best WWE title matches of all time, in my opinion. I gave it 5 stars. I remember in 2017, it's excellent. It never leaves the ring. You get a whole bunch of close calls and big spots. You got AJ kicking out the Super AA and stuff like that. So it's an all-timer from Royal Rumble 2017, and I feel like that's their best matchup. So I would love to see AJ in this kind of revived mode that he's been in, putting on 2 instant classics with Cody Rhodes this year. He's about to tear it up with Narumichi Marufuji on Saturday. I would love to see him a couple of months later go against John Cena. But I feel like story-wise, the number 17, I think I'm very adamant. I think that it has to happen at WrestleMania. If you're going to run that story, do it at the biggest stage possible and do it against Gunther, who out of the options, all the options that we said here, I am most confident Gunther can get a great match out of John Cena.
I think you can. I'm with you on Gunther, obviously getting a great match out of John Cena. I don't know if Cena wants to take those chops, though. I don't know if he has any desire. Like, yeah, I don't know about this one. I think you can play the title story at any point during the year. I don't think it needs to be a WrestleMania thing. Like, WrestleMania is WrestleMania. It's going to sell itself regardless. You're obviously going to have plenty of big stories going into it as well. You can you can milk a John Cena going for a world title out of some international PLE. Like, you can, like, hey guys, it's John Cena going for this world title. It's number 17 at a PLE in Europe, in London, whatever it might be. Like, you can get something later down the line for that. And maybe that's their thinking. We're so far, by the way, we're so far from WrestleMania. Triple H, when he did that documentary that The Rock executive produced, he said the story was in October. Like, we're only in July, and so much changed then with everything. So much is going to change again with stuff. Guys are going to get hurt. Guys are going to come up. Guys are going to get over. Cena's desires might change. So I don't know if you're gonna see him go for the title at WrestleMania. It makes plenty of sense. We had people in our chat saying that like Cena doesn't win the Rumble, he wins Elimination Chamber and challenges for the title at WrestleMania. Like that's a possibility. They got a lot of options with John Cena because it's going to be his final year. It's going to be his final run. A lot of people are going to want to work with him. You can tell a lot of stories with Cena, not only new stories with people he's never worked with, a lot of older stories to circle back with people that he has worked with. Because I would imagine, I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine John Cena looks at the roster and yeah, he sees guys that he hasn't worked with before and he maybe wants to work with them. But then he also does see guys like AJ and Kevin Owens and The Miz, and he knows they're winding down their careers as well. And he's like, let me get in the ring one last time with all of these guys. So I think he wants to do that as well. And I think that's why he is working 30 to 40 dates, not only to work with a variety of people, but also to go to different locations. He mentioned in the tweet he wants to go to Australia. I imagine he's going to work a lot of the international PLEs because he wants to go to these places one last time to work. They got a lot to do with John Cena in the final year. It's going to be very fun to see how it all plays out and how they do get stories out of this entire run.
I think they do a PLE in Boston, but probably TD Garden, and they do Cena and Carmelo Hayes. I think that's the stage to do Carmelo Hayes. If you're going to do the Punk matchup, I think you got to do it in Chicago, in my opinion. But one name that I haven't seen anybody mention, and nobody's been really mentioning him since he didn't show up at WrestleMania 40, but he was a big talking point heading into WrestleMania 39, WrestleMania 40. And this is like one of the big dream matches that never happened. What if Stone Cold Steve Austin comes back for one more match with John Cena?
I would love it. I think that'd be great. I don't know if Austin has the desire to do it. Obviously, if you're Cena, you ain't turning that one down. Well,
no,
it really goes on what is Austin want to do. I definitely think to me, like you could do that at Mania. Like that feels like a big time Mania thing of like, oh, the two faces of their generation once in a lifetime until they run it back at 42, Cena and Austin. Like I think that would be good, but I don't know how that match looks. Like it'd be good. Kevin Owens was a very good opponent for Austin because Owens was going to walk and brawl and bump his ass off for Austin. Cena ain't bumping all that much.
Oh man, I said this immediately after he announced his retirement. I mean, John Cena's kind of washed. Like I said that after the last run. I was like, he's washed. After that Fastlane matchup, that tag match with LA Knight versus the Bloodline, I was like, oh man, Cena's washed. I was like, he just comes off like a caricature of what he used to be, and like then he's worried about his hair all the time and the baldy spot and stuff. So like, yeah, Cena's been pretty washed for a couple of years now. Ever since he stopped being like coming in for like long stretches. When he did come in for the long stretch last year, it kind of exposed that he is pretty washed. And so yeah, I'm at that stage as well, that it would literally just be for the stare down at the beginning, where they could do stare at each other and stare side to side. They could try to recapture the Rock Hogan type vibes, but no, it wouldn't be the best match ever. It would not. I know that much.
No, I don't know if Cena bumps once. I don't know if Austin bumps once for that match. Just a strike fest the entire time. And then that's it. Go home after we just throw a bunch of punches. And they got a lot of options with Cena. You're going to get a lot of people who want to work with Cena, as they should, mind you, as they should. Also, for Money in the Bank, big show. What'd you make of Drew winning, cashing in, Punk screwing him over? I saw a lot of people were upset of like, oh, this is a waste of the briefcase. And, I didn't feel that way. But how'd you feel, SP3?
I have a lot of conflicting feelings, I think. Because I felt like Drew was the most viable and likely option to win Money in the Bank. And everybody else kind of had something else against them or going for them that they didn't need the Money in the Bank briefcase. LA Knight was a favorite last year, but he's got Logan Paul at SummerSlam. Jay Uso was kind of the fans' vote and very popular because he was on the cover art for the Money in the Bank show. But he's going to be involved in the Bloodline Civil War towards the end of the year, so he's got that going for him, and he's still ridiculously over. You had, Carmelo Hayes is still new, so I think that he still needs time, but he shined and he looked great in the matchup. Chad Gable was the MVP of the match for me, for a guy that's never been in a ladder match. I think he really shined, German suplexing everybody, including a ladder, and then doing that crazy bump off the briefcase rung. That was insane. So he shined in it, but he's got his whole story with Alpha Academy and the Wyatt Six. Andrade, I like him. I think that he was a Hispanic Shelton Benjamin for the first half of the matchup, doing all the big spots, and he had some big moments with his signature sunset flip powerbomb, but he's not quite over yet in his return. And he got like the least reaction of everybody coming out for the matchup. So when you took all those things into account, it was like, yeah, you're left with Drew. Drew is the best option. And I didn't want, somebody, because there was like 3 or 4 different options for somebody to come in and cost somebody the Money in the Bank briefcase. So I preferred the Money in the Bank just being a Money in the Bank and people battling for the briefcase and someone winning. So I was fine with Drew winning it, knowing that he was going to get screwed over when he went for the title shot. I knew it already. So I wasn't too upset with them using the Money in the Bank as a storyline tool, a storyline element. Now, do I think that it helped enhance the Punk and McIntyre feud? No, absolutely not. It did not. I think everybody that was into Punk and McIntyre before Money in the Bank, they're not more interested in it now that Punk screwed him over for a third time. I think they're more or less just like, hey, he got screwed again. Okay, that's cool, I guess. But I didn't think that it was like it was needed for the Punk and McIntyre feud, but it was used in a way that it enhanced something. And what it really did was reignite the rivalry between Punk and Seth, because Drew was able to cash it in, make it a triple threat, which meant it was no disqualification. So Punk, by screwing over Drew, he also screwed over Seth and reignited that rivalry and gave Seth a whole new reason to hate CM Punk. So I think that it did great as far as that. So that's why I said I had a lot of conflicting feelings about the whole thing. And I'm fine with him. I'm fine with Triple H using the Money in the Bank as a storyline element then instead of elevating somebody, because he elevated 2 people last year. Io Sky became one of the prominent female stars in WWE coming out of Money in the Bank after her cash-in and WWE Women's Championship matchup, and she shined in the Women's Money in the Bank on the show. And Damian Priest is still in the process of being cemented as a main eventer, so he was elevated with the Money in the Bank last year. So, and you still had the women's briefcase as well, where they're elevating someone there with Tiffany Stratton winning that. So I'm totally fine with them using it as a storyline element, but I won't say that it enhanced the Punk and McIntyre feud if that was the goal.
I was okay with them just going ahead and using the briefcase, because you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't with it. And this is where the concept of Money in the Bank is a good concept, but when it's annual like it is, you can only do so much with the actual briefcase. Last year everybody complained about Priest having it too long. When's he going to cash in? Oh, he's not ready. Oh, he's not ready. And then he cashes in. Like, he's been a good world champion. I have my gripes about the way he wins a lot of matches. I don't think him and Gunther right now doesn't scream top feud to me. No. Part of that is the way Priest has just been winning matches. Like, he hasn't won clean on anything, so I'm not buying him as like this great world champion. And 2, Gunther's just been off television. Like, he's just been waiting in the wings, which is like good in some aspect, but because Priest hasn't really established himself as this great dominant champion, I'm not looking forward. Like, I would rather see Gunther a little bit more visible instead of Gunther coming in. It's like, oh, you're feuding with a guy and you're about to face a guy who just needs help in every single match that he wins. That's where I'm at on Priest and Gunther. But if you have the briefcase for too long, people start to be like, okay, go ahead and cash in. Okay, go ahead and cash in. Like, you can only do so many failed cash-ins too. Like that got long in the tooth, like Austin Theory of like, oh, he failed again, this fucking dork. So,
but even with Priest, the people were
yeah,
like, "Oh, why didn't this dummy cash in here or cash in
yes,
there?" So I was fine with them using it as a storyline element. I don't know if it helped though the Punk and Maggot. That's my big thing. That's my big thing that I'm like, I don't know if it really helped it
I think it
exactly.
personally, I think it helped because CM Punk's just the biggest hater. CM Punk has said this man is not going to be world champion as long as I'm around. Well, Drew McIntyre. Now, I do think Drew was a little, we'll call it overconfident, but also stupid. Of
Yeah.
I'm gonna win this briefcase and I'm gonna cash in tonight. Like, okay, that's like I'm okay with this plan, but why enter into a triple threat? Why not just do it after the match is over, after somebody has won, and then you have more time to, or I guess less time for them to kind of recover. And then you don't have to worry about another guy because if you cash in on the triple threat match, that other guy is still part of that match. He does not want you to win. If you cash in after the match, they're going to be less likely to be like, well, I've already lost. I can't really do anything about it here. I'm not trying to retain or win the title here. They're out. So it just seems smarter to cash in after the match instead of during the match.
Well, to be fair to Drew, he thought the match was over because Damian Priest didn't kick out. so
you know what? I buy that. I actually buy that explanation. I'll take that.
I got your back, Drew. I got your back because I was like, what happened? Like, I was like, I didn't blame, Damian Priest because I knew Damian Priest would be hard on himself about it. I was like, what happened? And I know Fightful did a great report kind of explaining how the backstage reaction was to it, but it was just like, yeah, I was like, either the sound guy messed up, Drew messed up by not coming out on time, Damian Priest messed up by not kicking out, but yeah, it was kind of weird. And I wish that the referee did the right thing by holding up his count.
If he called that,
it would have screwed up. Yeah, it would have screwed up everything.
I actually wanted to see him call it as a shoot because I was like, how do you get out of this? Like, how are you gonna get out of?
How is Triple H gonna explain? We have our North Star and we had to go through the pivots and
the GPS really fucked us. It's like the episode of The Office. Turn right here, just turns it right into a lake. It says turn right here. Like, no, it's the street above. No, it's a turn right here. That's what would have happened on that. Yeah, he would have had to do a lot of explaining on that one. He would just do it like the Gunther and Randy Orton. Remember when Triple H was like, we saw his shoulder wasn't down. I'm sure Randy Orton wants that match. We'll have to kind of run that back. And then we're 6 weeks later. It's like, hey, remember that whole thing happened and you said you're going to run it back and then you didn't do anything. How's that going for you? I didn't mind Punk showing up because, again, Punk said he's not going to be the world champion as long as I'm around. Drew was overconfident. He thought he did enough to take Punk out, and he didn't think Punk was going to show up. So he's like, I'm going to cash in. Punk's not here. I'm going to finally get my moment. And then, hey, here comes CM Punk. You're right that it put some extra heat on Punk and Rollins, which is good because that's going to be a potential match down the line. I think the issue is we don't know Punk's injury status. Like, yeah. He said after Clash at the Castle, he was hoping to announce he was going to be cleared on that SmackDown. That SmackDown came and went, and they had to shoot an injury angle because he was not cleared. And he even said it after the show, if it was up to me, I'd wrestle, but it's not up to me. They're telling me I can't wrestle. Jackie Redmond said he's not cleared. We don't know when he's going to be cleared. They got a month before SummerSlam. You would hope he's cleared by that point, but we don't know if it's going to be for sure right now. And if he can't go for SummerSlam, how do you pivot out of this one? Because
they already did. They already set up the pivot by suspending Drew indefinitely.
Yeah.
I feel like they are hedging their bets on a lot of this Punk and Drew stuff, and they've done a good job of going through the pivots, going through the twists and the turns of everything with this story, where its people are still engaged in it and definitely feel like it would be the hottest match at SummerSlam. Because I agree with you. Priest versus Gunther does not feel like a mainline SummerSlam matchup. For all intents and purposes, and I've been one of the biggest advocates for Solo Sikoa, and overall, I'm a big advocate for giving new guys an opportunity on the SummerSlam stage. It goes back to like Owen Hart challenging Bret Hart for the WWF Championship all the way back in 1994. That SummerSlam has been the stage where they kind of give these new guys the opportunity to be in the main event scene. But that doesn't feel like the world title. Solo versus Cody still needs some more build up for Solo. I would like Solo to get some singles victories, you know? That's something that you could do instead of all these tag team wins for him. He could get some singles victories on not Kevin Owens, because that's all he seems to beat every time he gets a singles win nowadays. But Solo needs some more, you know, building up to make that feel like a SummerSlam match. But I feel like the Bloodline story and Cody as the babyface champion is strong enough where that can get over. And honestly, if you ask most of the fans, they're not even interested in Cody versus Solo. They're interested on what's going to happen after the matchup with Roman Reigns returning. So it does not matter at the end of the day when it comes to that. But you have the two main stories that are like the hottest in WWE for me is really up in the air right now with Punk and McIntyre and Rhea and Liv Morgan. Those are two matches that would make the show overall, even with Solo and Cody and Gunther and Priest as the championship matchups. Those two matchups, the grudge matchups, would be the ones that would elevate and make this feel like a SummerSlam card overall.
With Solo pinning Cody, which a lot of people predicted to basically set up the SummerSlam match, I thought that was a good call. I do think Solo needs a strong singles victory. I'm with you on that. But what they've done with Solo over the past couple of weeks with taking out Paul Heyman and then that video where he basically took out Roman Reigns of like, Roman's not coming back, I'm the head of the table now. They've established him as a guy who simply, we know Roman Reigns' character. We know the level he is on. So if you have Solo basically defying that of like, oh, he took out Paul Heyman, Roman's not going to like, oh, he's saying all this stuff about Roman. That's what elevates Solo in the eyes of a lot of fans, which is good. I'm with you. He needs some singles victories. I'd like to see him beat Randy Orton. Honestly,
I was thinking the same thing. That's the person that you do to really put him over. It could be on an episode of SmackDown. You could build that up and you could pop a rating with that matchup. But yeah, I think Solo needs to beat Randy Orton and really set himself up for SummerSlam. I know the win pinning Cody is definitely a step in that direction, but he needs that big singles victory to kind of hang his hat on before we get to SummerSlam. But yeah, I agree with you. They've done a superb job of heating Solo up in the last couple of weeks. The Bloodline segment with Paul Heyman is an all-timer. He had the great promo, even though it felt like that was like not timed right? Because I was looking at the clock when they kept saying, hey, Solo's going to have a message for the WWE Universe. I'm like, it's like 9:57. Are you sure? Are you sure? But like they ended off the show with that big statement and him saying that Roman let us down. He didn't win our title. He didn't retain our title against Cody. Now I'm going to make sure Cody Rhodes acknowledges us. He's doing good on his promo, and he really comes across his character as a dangerous yet insecure leader, which is great. And it kind of follows up, Roman Reigns as the very manipulative gaslighter that he was. It's a nice follow-up to that, to have a very insecure, young, but dangerous leader in Solo Sikoa. And that's why I said that the character overall, I feel it's going to have higher heights after SummerSlam, but they've built him up well enough. But the one thing that's missing is that singles win where you could really put it over the top. And then to me, it would feel like a SummerSlam main event.
He should beat Cody. He should win the title. And then as he's, acknowledging with the Tanga Loa, Tonga Tunga, Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu, Tala Tonga, whatever other Tonga is coming in there, then Roman's music hits. And that's when you get the big stare down. And that's the feud. Who cares about Cody? He's an idiot. Get him out of here.
Like a lot of people don't care about the Cody and Solo feud. It's all about getting Roman back here. That's what I said. Like more people are already giving SummerSlam a 7 because it's going to have Roman's return.
I think Cody needs to do some really good mic work, and I trust that Cody can do this, of putting Solo over as this dangerous character. I said this a few weeks ago. You can only get away with being like bootleg bloodline, fake tribal chief so many times before fans are like, oh yeah, he's right. Like, why do we care about this guy?
Yeah.
There needs to be an element of danger. And WWE has done, Paul Heyman did a good job with that, especially his reactions and then taking that table bump. The video on Friday was very good. Obviously, Solo winning, and then the inside the NBA interview where he says, acknowledge me. Thought that was very good as well. But now I need Cody to be like, this is a different Solo Sikoa than the guy that I faced 2 years ago before WrestleMania, or the guy that was standing beside Roman Reigns last year. This is a different Solo Sikoa. Like, I need Cody to put over that element of Solo. And Cody's very good at selling the opponent. So I think he'll be able to do that. But that's one thing that I think this feud needs moving forward.
So we're on the same page as that, because I felt like that was the only misstep on that Madison Square Garden episode, was Cody calling Solo a seat filler. I was like, call him an opportunist. Call him that he's taking advantage of Roman being away. Don't call him a seat filler right the week after CM Punk called him phony cosplay Roman Reigns. I'm like, when you have these top guys talking down to him, that's not helping the presentation overall when a lot of fans have these doubts about Solo Sikoa. You need to build him. You need to prop him up with your words. And I think that Cody's going to do a good job of that heading into SummerSlam, especially after taking the loss here, which is his first pinfall loss since he won the title at WrestleMania.
Joel made a good point on that. The one time he has a good point was Cody was so angry that he kind of let rage blind him with those words. So like, I understood that aspect. I still didn't like it because, like you said, it came a week after Punk did the bootleg Bloodline. And like, this has been the knock on Solo and the Bloodline the entire time. Punk's not the first person to say that. I think Kevin Owens and Orton both said similar stuff. So like, when it becomes all of that right in a row, it's a little tougher to forgive when Cody says it as well. Although I did understand Joel's point of, okay, Cody was consumed with rage because they just had the big brawl and everything. He was fired up. Sure, he might let off some stuff that, he heat of the moment type thing. It just doesn't look great when all of that followed everything Orton, Owens, and Punk also said. We got a super chat from Vala who says, sure, Punk will be cleared for SummerSlam, but I'm betting he'll hurt himself again in the next match he has. Lock up Irish Whip, blows his ankle. I don't wish injury on anybody, but it's not great. His track record right now, like, it's getting hurt just about every 5 matches. So you gotta get these matches in there while you can. We shall see when it comes with that. Anything else from Money in the Bank that you want to quickly hit on we'll move on to some NXT Heatwave talk.
Well, as far as the main event, I thought Jacob Fatu was the MVP.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that Jacob Fatu worked like 2022, 2023 solo, but like more exciting in the ring. He could do more stuff. And Solo more or less worked like Roman Reigns, talking trash, wearing down, setting the pace of the matchup. So I like how they booked it that way. I don't think that should have been the main event. I felt like the match of the night was the women's Money in the Bank, because, I mean, I thought that the men's Money in the Bank was smoother and a little bit cleaner of a matchup, had less risks. But I prefer these ladder matches to be dangerous. And that is something that never really happens in a WWE ladder match, but it did happen in that women's Money in the Bank ladder match. The bumps they were taking with Lyra getting powerbomb on the ladder bridge, and the Io Sky Michinoku driver on Zoe on the ladder bridge, and then Chelsea Green doing the Bubba Ray and Matt Hardy TLC bump off the top of the ladder through the tables, the same bump that she did in TNA. That was my match of the night. That was exciting. And then at the end, it elevated someone new in Tiffany Stratton. So I thought Money in the Bank was a very, very good show, very noteworthy with Cena's retirement, with what happened in the World Heavyweight Championship matchup, with Solo pinning Cody, and with the two Money in the Bank winners, Sammy and Braun Breaker was a good matchup. I don't know if it's the right result. This feels like, once again, they're not getting the person at the peak. It feels like, with the Chad Gable and Otis, I feel like they've already missed the peak on Otis turning on Chad. And with Braun Breaker and his path to destruction, I felt like they've missed out on the peak of having him win the Intercontinental Championship to solidify that run. But overall, very good show, very noteworthy show. But for the first time in what feels like a long time, NXT beat the WWE main roster over the weekend.
And that used to be the whole thing. NXT Black and Gold would always have a better, show than the main roster. Now they don't run so much on consecutive, or they don't run so much on the same weekend, so it's a little bit tougher to kind of judge them against each other. They usually stand out on their own. But NXT Heatwave was last night, and the big news coming out of the entire event was Ethan Page. Ethan Page, the new NXT champion, defeated Trick, Javon Evans, and Sean Spears in a 4-way match. He ate the trick shot from Trick, and then he fell onto Javon Evans, who also ate a trick shot. And then Sean Spears, this idiot, just grabbed Trick Williams and pulled him out of the ring, and so he couldn't break up the pinfall. What was like? It was a clever finish, but also with Sean Spears, I'm like, what do you just let him go? Let him break up the fall, dummy. And then if he pins him, slide. Clearly, you have enough energy to grab him by the leg and hold him back. Get in the ring and break up the fall yourself, you idiot.
Yeah, it didn't make too much sense with Sean Spears taking Trick out of the ring. And I get that they were trying to go for, because Shawn Michaels, if there's one thing Shawn Michaels going to book, is stuff that he did. And that was the Backlash 2007 finish to the Fatal 4-Way with Cena, HBK, Randy Orton, and Edge, where Cena got super kicked into Orton, and an unconscious Orton, and got the pinfall. That was the same finish here. But yeah, the Sean Spears part of it didn't make sense. But man, that was an excellent 4-way, an excellent main event to the show. Javon Evans is an absolute star. This dude was the MVP of that matchup. He had every big spot. They showcased him well. They gave him the spotlight. He shined in everything that he did. Trick Williams, he's fine losing the NXT championship here, because I feel like he's going to be better in the chase than he is going to be when he is the champion. So I think that it's best to, put him back on the chase, even though he just had a couple of months under his belt. And, Sean Spears, he was kind of a glue to the matchup. You could tell that he had a lot to do with probably like a lot of the makeup and the layout of the matchup with it. I love the chair spot when Javon Evans tried to springboard and he just blocked right in the back with the chair. But Ethan Page, man, congratulations to him. I called this before Battleground. I was like, Battleground, it felt like too soon to put the title on him, but I was like, hey, Heatwave is in Toronto. Let's put the title on him in Canada. That makes the most sense. And I love the fact he came out with the resident of the United States turning on Canada. So he made sure he got some boos right from the start. And then the finish, it wasn't the strongest way to make him NXT champion, but it felt like the right way with his current character. And all four guys delivered in the main event slot. So congratulations for Ethan Page, who was just 6 months ago was in a press conference with Tony Khan talking about he wanted to be, a bigger star in Ring of Honor, wanted more opportunity, and now he stands in WWE as the NXT champion. It's a very great success story, and I'm very happy for him.
Shout out to JPJ. JPJ loves gaming in the chat. Met him over
Man.
the weekend. Fantastic guy. He's going to be in Cleveland for SummerSlam. I'm sure we'll hang out there as well. But he did all the events this past weekend as well. So hope you got home safely, JPJ. Or if you're traveling today, get home safely. And yes, whether you're traveling today or you're already at home, hope you got home or get home. When it comes
even
to
though
Ethan
he's a
Page,
Celtics fan, I love him. Shout out to him.
When it comes to Ethan Page, I saw, as usual, people turning on him, whatever, because we got to do the tribalism thing. Let's say this about Ethan Page. People were on his side when he had the match against MJF and he cut that promo afterwards of like, I got to win the title for my daughter. like fantastic promo. The match with Kenny, people were on his side. He chose to go to ROH. He was like, all right, the AEW stuff, not really getting a ton of opportunities here. Let me go to ROH. Let me work on myself. Like he, went on a new diet, new training regime. Everyone saw the change in his body and everything. So he chose to go to ROH, wanted to do more there. He had a good feud with Tony Nese that resulted in the I Quit match. They set stuff up afterwards that ever happened. Scorpio Sky. Hey, remember his vignette that aired in May and in June, and that's it. Maybe he's the hologram guy. I don't know. At this point, feels like
I don't know if he changed the color of his skin. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. But like Ethan Page wanted to go to ROH. He wanted to try to do more there. He wanted to build up more there, and he got the opportunity with the I Quit match, and he did well, and then he was just off television. I know that there was the stuff with Kyle Fletcher where he couldn't get a visa. He was maybe supposed to have a feud with Kyle Fletcher. If that was the case, fine. That doesn't explain just fully taking him off TV.
Yeah.
You can pivot, you can do something else instead of just letting him sit. Like get him on TV, have him continue to talk about stuff. So I'm not buying into the whole, oh, well, if Kyle Fletcher was there, he would have been ROH TV champion and things would have been great. It's Kyle Fletcher and his visa's fault. Nah, you can do something else with that.
Yeah.
The biggest thing with Ethan Page is the guy wants to be visible. The guy wants to be present. The guy wants to promote. Ethan Page, anytime they came to Canada, he wanted to do a lot of those interviews. He wanted to do the local promotion for those shows. He wanted to do a lot of media interviews and do a lot of promotion. AEW needs more people like that because a lot of times they run the same people when it comes out to the promotion. Like that's fine. You got to have people who are comfortable and you got to have people who want to get out there and get the name out and everything. Ethan Page was one of those guys. That's why I'll never knock him of like, this is a guy who wanted to add visibility to your brand. He was a company guy. He, got a lot of heats for over the weekend where he's like, now I'm part of the machine. I came from a place that was a little bit disorganized and chaotic. And people are like, oh, look, he's burying AEW. He's not the first person to say that. He's probably going to be the last person.
I wish he didn't say it. Like as a fan of Ethan Page, I wish he would have went the Cody route. And I felt like, Jade Cargill also went that Cody route of you don't have to put down your former place to big up this place. You could just talk about this place. So I wish he would have went that route, but I wasn't holding it against him or anything. I still predicted that he was going to win the championship, and he deserves to win the championship because like his first promo he proved that he is probably the best talker in NXT, and he could be the best character in NXT as well. And he's the type of guy that can represent the brand. I agree with you 100%. He's the type of guy that just wants TV time, just wants an opportunity to put himself out there. And it doesn't matter if it's at the top of the card, the bottom of the card, the mid card. He's going to do his most to maximize his minutes. And I think he's done that so far on his NXT run.
I don't think Ethan Page works better with structure. I don't even think that's a structure type thing when it comes to Ethan. I think it's an opportunity thing because Ethan Page, when he was given the opportunity at ROH, did well. When he was given some opportunities in AEW, notably the Darby feud, like he did well.
Yes.
People
tend to forget that was a great feud, and that coffin match is still Darby's best coffin match, in my opinion.
When it comes to, structure, which WWE clearly has, WWE has the machine, and WWE, they get behind you, And then when he's talking about, disorganized and stuff, it's when you keep asking for these things and you may not get an answer on stuff, it becomes a little, I'm sure, disheartening out there. I'm with you. He could have not said it. He could have just bigged up WWE, and then, he decided to mention the disorganized stuff. It is what it is with that. But he's a guy who I always appreciate because I know he's a guy who wants to get out there and he wants to put in a lot of the work. And you call him a Cody disciple. He's obviously friends with Cody, but Cody is a cut of that same cloth of like, I want to go out there and I want to do as much as I can to promote and add visibility. Ethan Page is one of those guys. That's why that's where I thought AEW missed with him. Not necessarily of like, oh, he should have been a main event guy. They got a lot of top guys in AEW. It's okay if Ethan Page was not a main event guy. I think there should have been a TV spot for him. I definitely think in ROH, you can give him a spot on that show. And that's something he wanted, he pushed for. But they're going to miss a guy like him when it comes to, I want to get out there and promote. I want to get out there and do what I can to increase the visibility of your company. And they don't have a lot of those guys. And some of them are injured right now. Because I think that was a value of Adam Copeland. Now he's hurt. And so it's going to be less for him. They need guys like Ethan Page who want to do that kind of stuff. Got a couple super chats here. Real quickly. Mike from Indeed said it was good to finally meet you, Jeremy. Yes, we hung out at GCW over the weekend. It was good to see you, Mike. Good to meet you in person. Good to hang out at GCW. It was a fun time once we finally got into the building. And Will Chisholm says, I think Trick will win the title back on the first CW show. Not a bad call. It does feel like they're gonna do probably something big for that show. And probably not a bad call there.
Yeah. I say either you do Trick winning it or you do Javon. I'm sorry. Like I'm huge. Now I'm a huge
I understand.
Javon Evans fan. Like you kind of sometimes want to strike while the iron is hot. And especially because of the fact that he's in his early 20s, he's 21 years old. You want to give him that win because he can represent like the youth movement that NXT is supposed to be a little bit more. And I think on that CW show, that first edition, you do that, you put in, you have Julia debut on that show, and it can be a big show where you pop a huge rating because you're on network television in comparison to cable television.
Yeah. Senior Nerd says, should it be the same thing for ex-WWE guys in AEW? Take shots at WWE like Moxley or Punk. They're going to be asked these questions. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I don't begrudge anybody who, when they're asked the question, like Mercedes is still asked WWE questions. And she kind of toes a little bit of a line.
I like Mercedes' response to those WWE questions. Like I'm keeping the same energy, folks. I don't like when AEW people that used to work in WWE are always bad mouthing them. If they have real feelings, like Moxley did, yeah, you could express it, you could say it and stuff like that. But if you feel like you weren't utilized, I think that's something different than saying that it was chaotic and disorganized. I feel like that's just kind of just throwing shade a bit. I feel like if you could say that I prefer this machine, this is much better than the place I was at, I think that's different than what he said. I wish he didn't say what he said, but I'm not going to, like I said before, I'm not going to hold it against him. I don't think he's a bad person. And he's not saying, like Jeremy said, he's not saying anything that anybody else hasn't said in the past, but it leaned the line. There's a line you could toe of, you could go the Cody route or you can go the Punk route. And I thought it lent too much to the Punk route.
Nah, fuck that. Everyone should go the Punk route, honestly. Give me all the dirt. Give me all the tea. Give me all the headlines.
There was a headline. Yeah, you know us. I do writing too, so I'm all for the headlines for sure.
I that's what I want. I want everybody just talking all the shit that they have. It's like, yeah, you know what? This actually sucked. Tried to do this, they wouldn't let me do that. Didn't like it at all. That's what I want. I don't want the towing the line stuff. That's lame. That's boring. Oh, okay. Cool.
That's also a good criticism too. I agree. That was a better answer than some person who got asked a question and just straight up lied this week. Miss Money in the Bank. But yeah, so I'll give Ethan Page that.
This is my entire life. Is like everything I do just creates more work for myself. That's all I do is create more work for myself. I want everybody taking these shots at each other. It's fun. It's fun for me. I think it's hilarious because I don't take any of it personal. I don't give a shit. My entire personality online is not AEW fan 32 or WWE fan 892. Like that's not my personality. Let all these people take shots at each other. I think it's hilarious.
Hey, I'm all for stuff I can talk about on True Hill Heat in places like here. So yeah, at the end of the day, that is true.
What else from NXT Heatwave stood out to you?
Oh, definitely the tag team title match. That tag team title match stole the show. And like I had my friend, because I was watching it on delay, and good thing I did that because I skipped all those freaking annoying commercials that I had to sit through watching Money in the Bank live. So I'm very thankful that me and my missus decided to watch Space Cadet on Prime TV, and I watched NXT Heatwave late, so I was able to skip all the commercials between the matches and just watch the matches. But I watched it, and my friend, sober guy JJ from True Hill, he was like, "Oh, this show has the old takeover vibes," and I was like, I don't really get that. I still am watching developmental people, and I can see their flaws and where they need to get better, but they're definitely like showing out in front of this big packed crowd in Toronto for sure. But then I watched that tag team title match, and I was like, yeah, that match had takeover vibes. That match had takeover vibes because Nathan Frazier and Axiom is the best tag team in WWE today. Shout out to Corey Brenner of Fightful Select. He said it on the True Hill Heat channel. He was like, they are London and Kendrick 2.0. I compared them to the Motor City Machine Guns. They're like both of those teams packed into one, and they just are so great in these matches. And when you put them in a team that's going to put in a great effort, unlike I felt like the OC matchup at Battleground, it was probably the more forgettable matchup on that card. But then you put them in there with Andre Chase and Duke Hudson, who always step their game up in front of these packed crowds. They did it all the way back at Stand and Deliver last year. They do it every time they're on a premium live event, and they stepped up and they stepped into the occasion. And this is where I was like, you really see the difference of when it's like a developmental competitor versus a more senior veteran, like we saw in the opener with Obafemi and Wesley, which was a very good matchup. When you have two developmental acts going up against one another, like Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan, which exceeded my expectations in a good matchup as well. But when you have four guys that are seasoned veterans that have the time on the independent scene, that have been in the PC for a while, that have worked so many takeovers, so many PLEs, so many NXT TV shows, you see the difference. And that was the difference between this match and every other matchup on the card. This was the best match of the entire weekend, in my opinion. It was nonstop action, fast pace. Duke Hudson showed out in his hot tag doing the Stratosphere, paying tribute to Trish Stratus in Toronto. Andre Chase is over with the crowd. And like I said, Nathan Frazier and Axiom may be the best two workers on the NXT roster right now. Now that Dragunov and Hayes and all these guys got called up to the main roster, Nathan Frazier and Axiom are so talented. That match was fantastic.
Was a fantastic match. And obviously the spot that really sticks out was the Destroyer, the Springboard Destroyer spot. But I thought the underlying tension with Axiom and Nathan Frazier was good. Chase U telling Ridge Holland, hey, stay away. So, he's kind of been the reason they've been winning recently. Yeah. So it was fantastic. And JPJ saying the same thing. Tag match might have been best match of the weekend. Like, it was a fantastic match. Wes Elbow, tired. Can we not, with all these headlines and hot takes, can we just get back to wrestling? Tired me after writing 100 articles in this country about the wrestlers. I can't stand wrestling. I hate wrestling, but I love this business. So please keep giving me stuff to write about, as long as it's like fun to write about. The biggest pop of the weekend from me was Triple H being like, I feel like I'm at the end of a 7-hour show. I'm the main event of the 7-hour show. I was like, don't read into that. I meant one of ours. Like, that was the funniest thing to me this weekend. Yeah, okay. I actually think, like, I'm going to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, because the fact that he caught himself so quickly, of like, I was talking about one of our Triple H main evented that WrestleMania 32 show, which was god fucking awful, where he and Roman Reigns went on after 8 hours. So he probably was talking about his own shows of like, shit, I got to go out here after 8 hours of this nonsense and do this 40-minute epic. I mean, he could have just cut the match. I'm sure he could have, brought that down himself if he wanted to. But yeah, he probably was talking about his own stuff. But the fact that he had to catch himself, don't read into that.
the Triple H Batista matchup that went like 25 minutes at WrestleMania 35.
but
Wasn't that in like
that
the
was
final
Batista,
hour?
though. It was, but like that was Batista. Batista ruled. We need more Batista in wrestling. That's what we need. 32. I'm sorry, JPJ, that you were there. That watching that from home sucked. Like that was
Yes.
just awful watching it from home. I'm like, oh, this is so terrible right now. Sol Roca and Kalani Jordan was really good. And I know it's been praised by a lot of people. Ricochet called it, the female version of himself and Will Ospreay. They're going to be fantastic. It's very clear their athleticism is taking over right now. And when they start to almost tone down the athleticism and start to enhance the actual wrestling work, because right now I don't want to say like they're overthinking of things, but you can see like they're thinking of what they're trying to do, and then they do the athletic spots and it looks really good because they're great athletes. When that starts to become like second nature kind of stuff to them, that's when you're going to see them really shine, because the athleticism's there. It's very clearly there. And they had a great match. Like that springboard clothesline, 450 clothesline was
That was
insane.
dope.
Like, that
That was
ruled.
dope.
Like you can tell they can do these moves once they figure out how to structure that in a wrestling way and they become more comfortable doing both of them, because right now they look like two great athletes having a good wrestling match, which is good. It's it stands out. It gets people talking, but as far as like a wrestling structure, it's not all there yet.
Thank you, like, because I mean I might be the low man on this, but I just was like 5 minutes into the matchup, I was like, what am I watching? I'm not watching wrestling. This is a gymnastics performance. Like because they were like the first sequence that they did where they were flipping out of stuff. They were doing the flips before the person, like they were supposed to do like, okay, this person is doing a leg sweep and then you flip out of it. But they were doing the flip before the leg sweep is executed. It was like, oh, I know I'm supposed to do this now. So I get you made a great kind of critique of it, of like they're trying to think it was a very rehearsed matchup. You know that much with the NXT premium live events. They practice these matchups a bunch of times in the performance center. But the first 5 minutes, it almost checked me out of the whole entire matchup, because I was like, this feels more like a gymnastic performance or a Britney Spears concert, where it's very choreographed. I'm like, I can tell what the next move is going to be. The forearms and the punches were not very well done. Like it felt like they were like pausing before they did the forearms as to not hit each other too hard. But when, like you said, the 450 clothesline, and when they started doing dives to the outside, I thought that's when the match really got me back into it. And I was like, okay, they're very athletic, they're very agile. This is turning into a good matchup when Kalani Jordan is busting out the Poison Rana and the Poison Rana off the second rope. They finished strong, but I just was kind of like, I was out of it for like the first 5 minutes of the matchup, because I was like, this is very choreographed. This is more gymnastics than it's actually wrestling. So I'm not surprised that a lot of people love the matchup, but it wasn't for me. Maybe it's because I'm jaded. I did admit that to somebody. I was like, I'm a jaded wrestling fan. It's because I've seen this a bunch of times, and I've seen it with Ricochet and Ospreay, all these years ago, and those guys are much better now. So I know that these ladies in like a year or two are going to be so much better. But they showed out and had a good matchup.
Yeah, it was good for what it was. I mean, you got to think how limited experience they have overall. And all of this is going to come together for them when they have more reps. And so, that's what's going to happen. They're going to get more reps. They're going to become even better than they are now. But because the athleticism, it's there in spades. And overall, I thought WWE had a strong weekend with two really good shows. They advanced a lot of stuff. They set up some new stuff, and you certainly got people talking with everything that they did. Any closing comments on all of WWE's weekend altogether?
As far as NXT Heatwave, I thought Obafemi and Wesley was a very good opening matchup. I think it could have been great, but it really felt like this is Obafemi's like first long form singles matchup. He's had some great triple threats with Joe Coffey and Wesley at Battleground, and then the fantastic one he had with Dijak and Josh Briggs at Stand and Deliver. But I felt like this was like his first long form singles match because towards the end he looked kind of gassed out there. It looked like he was like messing up a little bit more. It was a little bit clunky towards the ending of the matchup, but the guy is just the sky is the limit for him as far as potential, because he has undeniable presence and aura and the strength. He just is through the roof with all those things. So he's going to put it all together. He's going to work on his cardio in the end, and he's going to be a great performer and a main event star on the main roster. But this was his like first big singles test right out there. So I thought that Obafemi did well, but I felt like I had higher expectations than what they were able to hit. So that's my fault as well as a fan. But overall, I thought that Heatwave was better than Money in the Bank, but both shows were very good to great.
We also had AEW Collision this past weekend, and the couple talking points coming out of this. We'll talk more on Wednesday when it comes to the Hangman and Bryan Danielson match that obviously got set up with Hangman winning the semifinals of the Owen against Jay White and Jeff Jarrett, now being a special guest referee. But kind of the big talking point out of this was the MJF promo and certain lines in the MJF promo. It was a longer promo, but the line that, of course, stuck to everybody and went viral and got all the traction was Will Ospreay only cares about star ratings from Meltzer. I only care about ratings from Nielsen. I guess MJF just thinks there's one man named Nielsen and he controls all of these ratings of like, you know what? That was an okay show, but we're only going to give it a 0.15 in the demo and 700,000 viewers. I don't think that's how it works, but that's how MJF explained it of how it works. What did you make of this promo, and in particular that kind of closing line he hit?
I thought the promo was very, very good. I like that he was able to tie his heel turn into his arc as a babyface character, running back the promo where he talked about the rejection disorder and, feeling rejected by the fans as he sat at home injured after losing his Triple B, and they chose Okada and Swerve and Ospreay over him. And MJF is always well spoken. I thought that he helped elevate or kind of emphasize his rivalries with both Will Ospreay and Daniel Garcia. And he did it under 10 minutes, which for Max, that's an accomplishment. He did all of that in under 10 minutes. I felt like, I knew once he said the line that everybody would pay more attention to that than the promo overall. I see someone Will in the chat who's saying it was a mistake. I don't think it was a mistake because this is just what MJF does. MJF does insider comments, insider talk, saying that Will pays more attention to ratings by a guy named Meltzer. I get paid more attention to ratings from a guy named Nielsen. So it makes sense for the MJF character. He's always talked about TV ratings, and Will wants to have great matches, and he's just emphasizing the difference between himself and Will Ospreay. So I understood that point, and I felt like a lot of people were paying too much attention to the ratings line and not paying attention to the overall efficiency and effectiveness of the promo. I thought it was a well done promo. He was back in the suit and with the scarf, which I didn't know if he was going to take that turn, because I did like the leather jacket look, the Triple H look, and he's already on his 2002 Triple H arc of big return as a babyface and then immediately turn heel. So I like that as well. So yeah, I enjoyed the promo overall. And the line, I don't think it was a mistake. Do I think it was needed? Not necessarily, but that doesn't make it a mistake.
Did the fans really turn on him? Because he was away. So, of course, the fans are going to cheer for other people. I mean, they chanted for him. He's brought this up. They chanted for him at WrestleMania. Not the actual WrestleMania, but on the Pat McAfee show. They're chanting for MJF. He got a huge cheer when he did return. He said he's AEW ride or die. He showed up, or he showed off this AEW tattoo that he had. I don't know if the fans necessarily, I mean, in his mind, obviously, it's you weren't cheering for me 100%. You cheered for Ospreay, you cheered for Okada, even though Okada turned heel immediately. You cheered for Samoa Joe, you cheered for Swerve Strickland. So, yes, I get in his brain that that means you are rejecting me. That means you are not looking out for me because you looked out for other people. It's a good heel promo. I'm just, playing semantics and everything.
No, but I like the fact he mentioned that the first promo Joe did, it was fact. In Jacksonville, they said, "Thank you, Joe." Even though MJF was the big baby face and Joe was the heel heading into that matchup, immediately after MJF's gone and Joe's the new champion, they're saying, "Thank you, Joe." So they're like, "Hey, get out of here. We didn't like you." And he kind of
were they thanking Joe for bringing back the rankings that were immediately dropped? That's the real thank you. It wasn't thank you for ending MJF's reign. It was thank you for bringing back these rankings. Yeah, that's what we want more of.
I mean, hey, factual. Maybe that's factual as well.
Samoa Joe's just a nice guy. Thank you for Twisted Metal, the TV series. We appreciate it.
Thank you for beating Kurt Angle in a fake MMA match back in 2008. Yeah. They're like, thank you for all these things. I get it.
I liked the promo overall before the final line. I didn't like it because it just doesn't do anything for me. And that's why I'm just like, and again, this is a personal preference. If it does something for you, cool. But this is what I tweeted is like, if you're going to use online discourse, which that's what this is, bringing up ratings from one guy, star ratings, is an online thing. If you're bringing up television ratings, is an online thing. If you're going to use online discourse, you have to play full online. And to say Will Ospreay doesn't care about moving tickets or doesn't care about rate, he only cares about just having these great matches. And maybe this is the heel aspect of like, well, he's a liar, of course. And I guess if you want to spin it that way, fine. But Ospreay does care about that stuff. Ospreay's done interviews where he has mentioned, we look at this stuff like, oh, we had a bad rating. I take that to heart. Like, I look at the criticisms of AEW. I want AEW to be better. I want to try to elevate AEW as much as I can. So like, yeah, when we do have a bad rating, I look at that and I'm like, okay, well, what can we do to change and to make it better, to make the show better? So we are drawing more fans. Like, Ospreay does care about that stuff. So that's why the line didn't really hit for me. Because if you're going to tell me that, oh, Ospreay doesn't care about this, he only cares about that, like, it's an online talking point. I'm online enough to know Will Ospreay does care about that. So I'm listening to this promo. I'm like, all right, sure. You're just wrong. And it doesn't make me like want to see them wrestle anymore. Like, I'm not like more anticipated of a Will Ospreay MJF match because I'm like, Will Ospreay only cares about having a great match and MJF only cares about selling tickets. Yeah, they're going to battle. But I don't care about either of those things.
That wasn't the overall point of the promo, and that wasn't
But
I think that's the one that everybody's gonna pay attention to. So I get that point.
And again, it doesn't sell me on the match anymore. Like, what sells me on the match was everything that led up to before that. Like, okay, this makes sense. This is a good talking point for MJF. That's why I do think it was a mistake. I'll call it a mistake. I'll call it a mistake because this became the overall talking point. He stepped on his own promo by doing this because he had a good promo. And now, because of this, unfortunately, this is what's sticking out to people.
Well, I think that it sets up Will Ospreay to use MJF's words against him and be like, you're talking about ratings on the show and stuff like that. You're a mark. You're what you accuse everybody else of doing. You're a mark out here. So he can turn it back on him. I think they can make the line and work in this.
See, that doesn't do anything for me either. Calling him a mark on television, like the work shooty wink nod stuff is just, you can do this and there's too much of it on AEW. That's the other thing, is it loses its impact when you have Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho's trying to do it in a comedic way, but when you have Chris Jericho doing the same thing, Chris Jericho is doing the whole wink nod online discourse stuff. The Young Bucks do a lot of that as well. And when like it's an overarching theme of your show, it just loses some impact. I don't want Will Ospreay calling him a mark.
No,
I don't want.
no, I don't. I think Will Ospreay can come up with something better, and I think Will Ospreay, he has a promo on Dynamite. He will get the basically the rivalry and the point of the rivalry, the setup for the rivalry a little bit more and a little bit better, because I thought the setup for the rivalry before the MJF promo was the fact that Will, which I also think it was the overall point of MJF's promo, is that Will took MJF's spot. MJF felt like he was the top star, the top guy in everybody, the guy that all the fans were getting behind, the number one face of AEW. And Will Ospreay has upstaged him, not only in that promo that he had when he challenged Daniel Garcia, and then Will immediately came out and then made his challenge for the international championship. He's upstaged him as the big star and the guy that all the fans are getting behind. That was the overall point of the promo that I got, and I think that's the overall point of the feud itself, how it started and how it's going to progress moving forward.
Yes, and that's good. That's what I liked about the Ospreay Swerve stuff, is everyone knew, and this was the online talking point of, Swerve is just holding the title for Ospreay until Wembley. And then Sean ran the report of like Ospreay wanted to basically get ahead of that and just basically do the match to really establish Swerve as the champion further. They didn't actually outright fully say this on television. Like they told you without telling you. That is good. That way, because Ospreay's on TV and he's thinking he's on top of the world. He's the international champion. He wins the gauntlet. He's inserting himself in this feud. He feels like he's untouchable. Swerve feels disrespected by all of this. Swerve, when he grabs his title and he poses with the two belts, this is all disrespect in Swerve's mind. That's why Swerve's coming up with personal shots with everything. The weigh-in segment I thought was fantastic. I mean, the weigh-ins in wrestling are stupid if there's no actual weight limits. That was still a really good segment. They told you all this without simply addressing, hey, everyone just thinks I'm holding this title for you until All In. Everyone just thinks I'm going to hand over this title to you at all. Everyone wants you to be the champion at All In. And now we have to do this match because I'm going to prove that, no, that's not the case. You don't have to outright say these things. You can tell a story through the medium that you have on television without outright saying and addressing the discourse. And I liked your point, and you're correct, of MJF thinking Will Ospreay took his spot. He did say as much of like, you cheered for this guy. He came in, he gave you all these cool matches. You forgot about me. Good. That should be the story. That's why I think the ratings line was a miss, because now that's what we're focused on. And I think that should not be the point. We shouldn't be focused on that. And look, we're part of the problem. I'm part of the problem because I'm talking about it, but this is what got all the traction and everything. And so you didn't need it. It just became a talking point that is an unnecessary talking point. Just tell the television story. Do not worry about the online portion of this.
I think the other point to make about this is that it is good that you have people like yourself that is kind of like pointing it out and pointing why you think it's a mistake or a misstep, because MJF is perpetually online. And he's going to see the people that are saying that this is a misstep, and he knows how to pivot and go around. He follows the Triple H playbook of going with the twist and the turn. I believe in you, Max. I believe in you. He dropped the tofu line when the people was like, that was a miss against Jay White. I mean, the feud overall didn't hit for a lot of people, but he avoided that type of stuff. I believe that he'll be able to twist this and make it about the main point of Will upstaging him, Will taking his spot, because that's the real story. He told that story more with just his death stare and how he was reacting to Will when he made that challenge to Daniel Garcia 2 weeks ago for the international championship without saying a word more than he did with the promo. But the promo, I thought the overall point was you guys chose Will Ospreay over me, and now I'm going to make Will Ospreay pay because my real rivalry is with the fans, not with even Will Ospreay. It's with the fans because they rejected me and chose someone else over me. So first is going to be Will at All In, and then probably after All In at All Out, that's when Daniel Garcia will make his return and he'll finish up that rivalry or continue with that rivalry moving forward. Because I think that overall, MJF turning heel he's going to try to put over Daniel Garcia and establish him as one of the top guys or top guys of the future for AEW.
MJF is feuding with the fans as they watch the television show and come into the arena. He should just fight all the fans. He tried to on Wednesday after he laid out Garcia. He about fought a couple fans.
Yeah, and I want them to make that the overall point because it would not make sense any other way for MJF to go after the international championship. And I know that MJF addressed why he's not going after the AEW world title with Busted Open and stuff like that, but that hasn't been said on TV. We don't know why
would be on television.
I wish that would be on television too. Like why MJF is not going after the title that he cared about so much, that he made about his whole character was about him having the Triple B. I would like an explanation of why he doesn't seem concerned with that right now.
Yeah, I wish he would address that on TV. So this is another, my biggest point is like, if you're going to do online criticism, I mean, you're going to address online stuff, then introduce all of the online elements. Introduce the fact of what you said on Busted Open. Introduce that Will Ospreay, he's just wrong for what he said about Ospreay, because Ospreay does care about that. And maybe Ospreay will make that point. We'll see on Wednesday. It was an unnecessary thing. I thought he stepped on his own promo with it. And I just don't know what it proves either.
No, it was just to pop himself. I really feel like that. As soon as he said it, I was like, yeah, he probably popped himself, but I don't know how many people he popped with that one.
This wasn't a good line. Overall, good promo. Line, unnecessary. And
I thought the Hangman and Jay White matchup was great. And I would say I saw some people online, I saw some critic online say that I was better than any other matches on Money in the Bank, and I kind of agree, except for it wasn't better than the Nathan Frazier and Axiom versus Chase U matchup. But I thought Hangman Page and Jay White, they had a good match, and then Hangman gets busted open, and then it just became this like vitriol from him. And Hangman's promo, oh my Lord, that was outstanding. Like, I know there's been reports that Bryan Danielson is the favorite to win on Wednesday, but how do you not give this man the main event of All In after that promo and that matchup? Come on, Tony Khan, AEW. I hope you hear me. Please let Hangman Page win this tournament. Do not let it be because Jeff Jarrett wants it to be fair and fine, and because you never have heels win the Owen Hart Cup unless they turn heel in the matchup like Ricky Starks. Damn it, just have Hangman win.
I do wonder if Hangman loses, what the story is coming out of that, because Hangman and Swerve is the story. That's one of the best stories they've done since Hangman and Omega. And I know the Danielson story. Everyone knows my love for Bryan Danielson. I understand
and I love Bryan too.
I understand the Danielson story of like, he feels this is his last shot. He's going to go after the title and everything. It's a big crowning moment for him to potentially win the title at All In. I fully get that. The Hangman Swerve story is so strong though. And Hangman potentially losing. And if like Jeff Jarrett is the reason he loses, I don't know what this does for Hangman. If they're really going to have Danielson win, and I think they should, because I advocate for Bryan Danielson. If they're going to have Bryan Danielson win, they got to have a really good plan coming out of this with Hangman Page, because the story for him is stronger than the Danielson story right now. And the story, especially with Blood and Guts, hey, by the way, that's like in a couple of weeks, and we just kind of forgot about it, and they haven't done a whole lot. Mark Briscoe's in the match. Team AEW, nobody's really stepping up to be like, I want to be in this match to fight the Young Bucks. Nobody's really there for team. Like, feels like that's getting
Please
a little
not the
lost.
Acclaimed. Please not the Acclaimed.
The Acclaimed are owed a tag team title shot still. Like, at some point, they're going to get a tag team title shot.
I think they do that on Dynamite 250 next Wednesday.
All right. Well, then that would probably put the Acclaimed in Blood and Guts. Maybe. I don't know. They're trying to mix a lot of stuff here. Yeah. And it could go sideways real quickly if they drop the ball on an aspect of it. I haven't loved the Blood and Guts build because there hasn't really been a Blood and Guts build. And we still don't know if there's stakes or not. Like, if it's just a Blood and Guts match, what are we doing? The Young Bucks won Anarchy in the Arena. Why'd they issue a Blood and Guts challenge? Why aren't more people lining up for Team AEW to be like, yeah, we want to take these guys out? They took out Tony Khan. I feel that they dropped the ball so badly with this story. This should have been such a bigger story. And it felt like it was like after Double or Nothing, it was just like, all right, that happened. And that was it. And I don't feel like they've been able to regain it ever since. Now we'll see, but I feel there's been a lot of missteps on that. We'll talk more about Dynamite on Wednesday. Here's the Raw rundown for everybody. Lyra Valkyria, Kaden Carter, Katana Chance against Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Kairi Sane, Io Sky, Jey Uso against Chad Gable, Miz, Braun Strowman, and R-Truth against Judgment Day. Dominic and Liv team up to face Rey and Zelina Vega. What stands out to you for WWE Raw?
Liv and Dom teaming up for the first time, man. I was very excited when I heard that announcement. I was like, yeah, that's how you get me to watch Monday Night Raw. You team up Liv and Dom for the first time. Let's do it. That should be fun. Should further develop that ongoing story that's going on. And I'm very much looking forward to how they're gonna kind of start the main build for SummerSlam. Even though it's kind of sort of the Money in the Bank build up, felt like it was more tailored to building up for SummerSlam than it was for Money in the Bank, because I felt like some of the pieces would be further developed on the road to SummerSlam. So I think they're going to kick it into high gear here. Maybe we get more of the Wyatt Six messing with Chad Gable in the Jey Uso matchup. So that should be also interesting. And they may have an issue with Jey Uso turning his back on his family after Bo Dallas's promo last week, which gave them their mission statement, which I really enjoyed. So I'm interested in those two matchups most of all on Monday Night Raw tonight. And if Drew McIntyre basically ignores what Adam Pearce said, who Adam Pearce is not a good general manager because he just finds CM Punk. CM Punk has screwed over Drew 3 different times, and he finally gets fined. That's it. But Drew gets suspended because Adam Pearce is in the way. Adam Pearce, you shouldn't be grabbing him. Why are you grabbing him when he's upset and threatening CM Punk, telling him, I know where your family lives? Like, let him finish. Let him finish.
Pause over finisher. Oh, wrong one. Mentioned that they're scared to rise against their now bosses. Why? Tony Khan has just as much power. Christopher Daniels has more power than the Young Bucks. They're not the actual bosses. They didn't win anything. Who's scared of them? Mark Briscoe just came out there and was like, yeah, I'm in. Nobody's scared of the bosses. Should be better. It should be better. I'm not gonna say it's bad. It just should be better. They had a real opportunity.
Blood and Guts, especially this year, just feels like it's because it's that time of the year when we do Blood and Guts.
And it shouldn't be especially with this story. They did a pile driver on Tony Khan. This should have been so much bigger. This should have been such a bigger deal. It just wasn't. It just wasn't. Anyway, Raw should be fine. Yeah, Adam Pearce, this incompetent bald bitch. He blocked me on Twitter. I don't know what I did. I just found that out today. Yeah. I don't know what I did. I
That's pretty
just
awesome.
learned this today.
That's pretty awesome. We're blocked by two of the people that were involved in that angle because I'm blocked by Wade Barrett, and I don't even know what I did.
Are you? What'd you do to Wade Barrett?
I didn't. I have three main people that have me blocked, and I know why with two out of the three. I don't know why with Wade Barrett. I know that Zelina Vega blocked me because I said that she didn't have enough wins to get that title shot in Puerto Rico at Backlash last year, and she just decided to block me, even though I was criticizing the booking, not her. But hey, to each his own. I'm from New York. I love Zelina, but I'm just saying I want them to book you better. But okay. And I know Adam Copeland blocked a bunch of wrestling media, and I'm friends with Alex McCarthy, who he also blocked. So that's why.
I'm not blocked by Adam Copeland, and I've called him a little bitch on this show. Maybe Adam Pierce thought I was talking about him. Maybe Adam Pierce just heard Adam and was like, I'm blocking this asshole.
Yep. He heard you talking that mess. So hey. But I don't know why with Wade Barrett. I've been a big supporter of Wade Barrett. I think he's the best WWE commentator right now, and I love his involvement in the whole Drew and Punk rivalry. Him getting upset and being the voice of Drew McIntyre on commentary is great.
Raw should be fine tonight. We'll see if Gunther shows up. They gotta do something with Priest. They got Priest. Priest has been a little bitch.
He can't win a matchup on his own, man. What is going on? That's what I wanted at Money in the Bank. I was like, if he's versus Seth, let him beat Seth clean. But once the story started coming together, I was like, well, either Finn Balor's interfering or Drew's cashing in. So yeah, it's not gonna happen here. So yeah, he's getting big wins, but it's cheap wins. So we'll see how they build him up going into SummerSlam.
SP3, thank you as always for joining me. Blame Joel for the last minute notice. That was not me just being last minute. Let me call on you. That was 2 minutes after Joel texted me that he couldn't do, or I can't say couldn't. He could. He's physically capable of doing the show. 2 minutes after Joel ran from the grind and said he wasn't going to do the show today, I messaged you. So I messaged you as quickly as possible. It was not my fault I messaged you so late. It was all Joel's fault. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
You can find me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3. But the most important thing you could do, because I know the In the Weeds faithful, there's a bunch of you watching. I want to see y'all all join me live on the True Hill Heat Wrestling YouTube channel at 2:05 p.m. Eastern time today, as I have my biggest interview of the year, probably one of our biggest interviews ever, and we're doing it live on the channel, as I will be talking to former WWE star Donovan Dijak. So join us live for that, be talking to him. And if you have any questions for Dijak yourself, you can send a super chat donation during that stream, and I will definitely read out your question for Dijak. I'm very excited to talk to him about his WWE exit, AEW interest, showing up at backstage at Forbidden Door, and everything else in between, including Retribution. So join us live for that over there on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel.
Please ask him about the double cinder block through the door. He was not officially part of Retribution. No, I don't think they had any idea who was going to be part of Retribution. But you've seen that video where they throw the cinder block. Yeah. I need to know about this. He probably will have no answer. But nobody in Retribution, and they've done 1,000 interviews, nobody in Retribution has been asked, hey, what was this all about? I just want to know the answer. I want to just see what answer.
Why they threw a cinder block through a broken window? You want to know that?
Yeah. I think of the Bush meme. Sir, a second cinder block has gone through an already shattered glass door.
I'm putting that in my notes. I'm dead. I'm putting that. I got a bunch of questions that True OE gang asked me already that I've already put out in my notes, but I'm asking him that one as well.
Look, this is a guaranteed article by me. Okay. I might not do another article on this interview. I'm sure I'll actually have plenty to get from it. This is a guaranteed by me because it ain't popping nobody but myself. But if you
I love
pop
it.
me, you get an article.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that much.
So
So
I
hope
want to
to see
know
y'all
this.
all.
I want to know. I want to know. Thank you as always, SP3. Guys, we'll be back on Wednesday. Maybe Joel will be back. Who knows? He might run from the grind some more. We might do FMC tomorrow. We're doing a production meeting on air that I'm not positive if we're gonna do the show tomorrow. There's not a whole lot of basketball to talk about. We might just kind of like take a week off. Feel like we deserve it. Not running from the grind. All that means is I'll be doing other work. I'll be transcribing the Dijak interview most likely.
And I can give you the mission of watching all 6 episodes of Clipped, so we can do that next week. We can review Clipped. Because I've watched Clipped. Oh my God, I've watched Clipped, and then I've also watched some podcasts on like JJ Redick and Jamal Crawford talking about it, DeAndre Jordan talking about it on the podcast P. So I'm ready to talk about Clips. So you got a week. We'll take tomorrow off, and then I'll make it here. I'll make it here. I'll make the decision for you. We'll take tomorrow off to give you some time to watch Clipped.
I gotta still finish The Bear. I'm only 4 episodes in. I gotta still finish that.
I'm doing that. I'm doing that with Jimmy Macaram over on his channel. Check out Jimmy Macaram's channel because he just posted the first 2 episodes, our reaction and review, which we got comments already, which we seem to be the only people that didn't love the first episode. We seem to be. So
I saw a lot of people who like haven't liked this season. Overall.
Yeah, I saw a couple of comments like that, and I saw a couple of people say that in the chat. But apparently, there was some people that was like, "Oh, the Bear season 3 premiere was one of the greatest of all time." So of course, these guys who want to talk through it don't enjoy it. It was like it felt like a dream and stuff that I already knew happened. I just saw it. I literally called like a couple of the things that were going to happen in the episode.
I thought so. We'll talk about the premiere episode real quickly. I thought it was a choice. Wasn't the choice I would have made.
No, because
it was a choice.
Episode 2 was a much better premiere.
Yeah.
Episode 2 with Carmi and Richie, that the whole kitchen scene is one of the best Bear scenes of all time because it was all one shot and them just going back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, me and Jimmy were just smiling and laughing the whole entire time watching episode 2.
The first episode, it just felt like they wanted to do something different and they knew they could almost get away with it because the audience is very loyal. It just didn't feel like it was the follow-up after that season finale. Like that's where episode 2 felt like, oh, that's the actual follow-up. This just, all right, cool. We're just rehashing a bunch of stuff we kind of already know. It was like I give them some credit for trying to do just something different, I guess, but
yeah,
would not have been what I would have done. Like if you missed that episode and you just jumped to episode 2, I didn't feel like you missed a whole lot.
No, you didn't miss anything.
Yeah. I didn't feel like you really missed a whole lot if you missed that episode. Like after I got done with it, I was like, all right. Interesting. Sure. What happened after Carmi got locked in the fridge? Well, fuck about what was going on in New York 5 years ago. Thank you as always, SP3. Guys, we'll be back on Wednesday.